The following video's information is all provided by Wiki and other informative online sources. If you ever want to learn more for yourself, links are provided in the description below. Laika Studios, an animation studio that specializes in stop motion. It was founded on July 20th in the year 2005. The founder at the time was Phil Knight, former CEO of Nike. After being a shareholder to Will Vinton Studios, once the studio went bankrupt, Phil Knight went and bought Will Vinton Studios in its entirety. Around the same time, as if planned from the start, Knight's son, Travis, worked in Will Vinton Studios as an animator, to now being the CEO and president of Laika. Their first feature-length stop-motion production will be based on a graphic novel by Neil Gaiman, Coraline. Given the fact that this was Laika's first stop-motion movie, they made sure to make it their absolute best, going as far as to hire on Henry Selick to direct the movie, and stay with the studio as supervising director. Coraline received critical acclaim at the 82nd Academy Awards on March 7, 2012. It was also nominated for Best Animated Feature, but lost to Pixar's Up. Laika had a successful start to their studio debut, and would go on to make 4 more stop-motion films. But this is something that very few people know. Laika's niche of them making stop-motion movies was a stolen idea from someone else. Someone by the same name of the studio Phil Knight bought 14 years ago. William Gale Vinton. Will Vinton was the equivalent to Walt Disney in the stop-motion world back in the 60s. He even styled the studio brand in Disney's likeness. Vinton originally was going to be an architect after being inspired by building designs by Italian architect Antonio Gaudí. But fate had other plans for this man. During his time attending the University of California in Berkeley, he went and made his first animated short film, Wobbly Weeno, with help by claymation animator in training Bob Gardner. After receiving his bachelor's degree in architecture in the 1970s, Will Vinton went on to make a name for himself as the godfather of American claymation. In the late 1970s to early 1980s, after Vinton and Gardner went their separate ways, Will Vinton went on with his ragtag team of animators to make 3 27-minute short films based on fictional short stories. Martin the Cobbler in 1977, the Oscar-nominated Rip Van Winkle in 1978, and The Little Prince in 1979. Later on, the trilogy was mashed together into a movie named Trilogy, and later renamed to The Little Prince and His Friends. In 1978, Vinton released a behind-the-scenes documentary movie called Claymation, 3-Dimensional Animation. Will Vinton rocked the world with most of his stop-motion projects. His first movie ever was The Adventures of Mark Twain. This movie is to this day the most legendary claymation feature-length production for one reason. Everything is clay. Not even exaggerating, everything you see in this movie is clay. I can't even sum it up in words, so at this point, here is a brief compilation of some of Vinton's most well-known works. Will Vinton was the most ambitious animator I have ever researched on. He truly became not just the founder of American claymation, but the face of claymation in general. Sadly, things started to take a turn for the worse. The studio was running out of money to keep itself going. After a few TV flops, Vinton resorted to reaching out to outside investors. These outside investors would financially support the studio as long as they hold partial ownership. This would not be enough and would later destroy Will Vinton Studios. Around mid-2002, Will Vinton Studios went bankrupt, and all rights to the studio was up for grabs. Most of the investors bailed on it, all but one. Once Phil Knight bought Will Vinton Studios, he went to the studio itself in Portland, Oregon, stormed into Will Vinton's office with his son, Travis Knight, and fired him out of his own company. Will Vinton fought for what little funds he could get, even taking Nike to court over the studio name, which was his namesake. Unfortunately, he lost, and once Will Vinton Studios was gone, Laika was born. Will Vinton left the animating world, retired in 2008. He died in Portland, Oregon on October 4th, 2018, of multiple myeloma at the age of 70. This man lived the dream of an animator, making stories and characters that people would enjoy, making money doing what he loves. He was truly ahead of his time, and is, and always will be, the godfather of claymation. Through my 6 years teaching myself stop motion, this story is what inspired me the most to grow as a stop motion animator. I used to enjoy Laika's movies, and I will admit, their movies are good, and I appreciate that they are making stop motion mainstream through films. But I will never support them for what they did. What Travis Knight is doing even now. Not once did they give credit to Will Vinton. Not once did Travis Knight say thank you to the man who taught him stop motion. And for that, I'll always hate Laika Studios. And that is what I know about Laika Studios.